If you've ever been told that you are cold, if your family, your wife has ever told you that you don't show enough emotion or that you don't handle or care for her or the people that you care about with enough just love and enough tenderness, then today's episode is for you. We're going to dissect this. We're going to talk about it in depthly and hopefully leave you with a solution that is formidable and usable by you in your life to help build those connections and those bonds a bit stronger and be the leader that you would like to be. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, y'all? As you know, my name is Avery Taylor, and you are watching, listening, tuning into the Larger Than Logic podcast. And today, before we even get into the written things, I think that it is very important to talk about this situation we find ourselves in as men sometimes, as husbands, fathers, leaders in our households and in our communities. It's important that we can emotionally connect with those who are following us and those who are working alongside of us. And if you're anything like me, sometimes our nurture can begin to fight with how we were designed to be caring, to be loving, to be compassionate. And we find ourselves in a situation where it's almost impossible at times to sympathize and empathize with those that we love the most in the way that they deserve, in the way that we would like to. I would like to suggest to you today that the solution to this problem is exactly what I just said in the phrase maybe one or two before this one: compassion. A lot of us, we hear the word compassion and we would even like to consider ourselves compassionate in our own right. But I'm not going to lie, it wasn't until maybe a day or two ago where I actually began to understand what true compassion is. And I'm hoping that through sharing this with you, you can also begin to operate within God's design for compassion as it regards you, your family, and your relationships. All right. Now, when it comes to compassion, just like love, it is not a adjective or a noun. It is a verb. This is something that you act out. This is something that you do. And you really only have two choices. Either you live through compassion or you don't. Either you are a compassionate man and leader or you are not. Either you are a compassionate husband and father or you are not. There is no middle ground. You have to pick. You're either going to be compassionate or you are not. When we look at this word compassionate, because we understand that the idea or the thought that we would get from a place like Matthew chapter 9 at verse 36 or Mark chapter 6 at verse 4, we have to understand that before we even drew our word compassionate, this was derived from a Greek root. I'm not good at saying the Greek, but I'm going to give it to you because I would like you to have it for your own reference. The Greek word that this word that we use, compassionate, is drawn from is pronounced, I'm going to try to pronounce, splagaknismal. I said that terribly. I might even just place a screenshot somewhere in this area just so you'll be able to see it yourself. But what we want to understand about this is that this word, this Greek word for compassion, aside from its metaphorical meaning, it was initially intended to reference one's inner parts or bowels. And then it also has this metaphorical or figurative definition, the same way we use, the innards or spilling our guts, right? The term or the phrase spilling our guts to denote coming out with a large array of emotion. It is used almost the exact same way. The only difference when it comes to compassion, which I think is just so important to this conversation, is that when it is used in the metaphorical or figurative sense, what it is denoting is not just the innards, but it is denoting that the innards have been touched. They have been affected in a way that causes an individual to, as it's written down here, to exhibit a visceral response that compels action, meaning that when it is felt deep inside, it forces that individual to move and do something and make a change in response to what was felt. Why is this important, you might ask? This is important because a lot of times when we are in this conundrum internally where we feel cold, we don't feel connected, we don't see how somebody else is struggling, we don't see how our wife is carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, we don't see how our kids are growing up in a world that we did not have to grow up in, and so we don't understand how these things are happening and forming from their angle. All it would take is for us to be able to take a step back and feel what they feel, look at things from how they see and put ourselves in their shoes and understand that a response, regardless of just how we feel, is needed. A response, regardless of how we feel, is warranted. The other thing that was very, very interesting to me when I was looking at the concept of compassion is that a lot of times we approach compassion from a reactive mindset. A lot of times we approach compassion from a mindset that says, oh, something bad has to happen in order for me to exhibit compassion. And once again, that's completely false. I would like you to imagine compassion in this way. If you are a river and your family is the forest, right? Your family is the trees. Your wife is the beautiful trees that you see lining this river, and your children are the beautiful flowers that are sprouting from the ground. You are the river. Your compassion is the river that is feeding your wife and your kids. Without that river consistently flowing downstream and touching their roots and nourishing them and feeding them and giving them what they need to grow, they will eventually dry out and die. Now, why is this important? It's important to understand how this compassion works in this capacity, because a lot of times we think about it from the standpoint of maybe like a house plant, right? Hey, when it gets a little dry, I'm going to put some water on it. Oh, when something already hits the fan or something already has gone wrong, I need to go and extend compassion as damage control. But the thing about it is, when you have a tree that has been nourished by a river, it has been fortified, it has been growing for X amount of years, let's say 15, 20 years. When storms come, that tree does not fall. When storms come, that tree does not wither, that tree does not lean, it stands firm. It's the trees that have not been nourished. It's the trees that have not gotten their water. It's the trees that have not gotten their nutrients, the trees that are brittle, that when the wind blows, branches fall, that when storms come, they get taken down with the storm. And so what I'm trying to get you to understand is that this compassion that you extend your family, this providing for their needs that you extend your family, it is not a reaction. It is being proactive in your compassion. I like to take you to a concept, or not a concept, another example. This could be found, and I'm not going to go there physically because I don't want you to get too caught up in the text, but I want you to get caught up in what this is showing. In Luke chapter 10, around verse 36, we have the gentleman who was robbed. He was robbed, he was beaten, and he was left on the side of the road, right? And people who you would have thought would have been religious, people who you would have thought would be the individuals who would help this gentleman, they walked right past him until one gentleman walks past and not only cleans him up, not only gives him what he needs, but he puts him in I want to use the Spanish word because I read the Bible in Spanish. I'm going to say posada, but he puts him in an inn. He puts him in an inn, in a hotel. And he tells the hotel keeper, he says, hey, if what I've given him does not cover his stay, when I come back, I will pay whatever he owes. What type of compassion does this man have to not only see the need that the man had in that moment, but go past that and see the need that might be had in the future and be making provision to meet the need that is going to be had in the future before it's even physically met? And then I would then ask you the question, when you were looking at your family When you are looking at the calling that God has placed on you to protect them and lead them and guide them and make provision for them out of the gifts and the things that God has given you, are you being reactionary? Are you waiting for something to happen? Are you waiting for something to be brought to your attention? Or are you planning and preparing right now for the future as God gives you the ability? It's 100% true that we do not control our tomorrow. We can't even wake ourselves up tomorrow morning. And so I don't want to get you into a mindset where you feel as though you are running this show or controlling anything. We literally do all that we do through the power of God, allowing us to wake up each day and have the ability. But what I am saying is this: with everything that God has given you, with every moment that God has given you, with every resource that God has given you, you are a steward of that. You have a decision of if you are going to use it for his glory or not. You have a decision of if you are going to use what you have right now, mentally, physically, and spiritually, to pour into your family and prepare them, nourish them, build them up to be able to handle whatever comes against them when they walk outside that door. Or you can be reactive, you can be selfish, and you can be passive and let the world come and get them where they stand and do your best to do damage control. But I promise you that will not work. That does not work. It's about the work that you do right now. It's about the conversations that you have right now. It's about the example that you put forth right now. It's about the way you love right now. And most importantly, in reference to this conversation, it's about the compassion that you exhibit right now that is going to set them up regardless of what storm, regardless of what's said, regardless of what's done, that they will be able to stand firm, not only because they are being sustained by the one who created me and you, but that you, through the power of God, have instilled in them all that they need to be able to not even just survive, but thrive regardless of what comes their way. I thank you for spending this time with me again. My name is A.V. Taylor, and you are tuned in to the Larger Than Logic podcast.